The Raptors get a ho win against the Miami Heat. Mamu goes off. Scottie Barnes has a good game. It was great all around. Let's go to the film room.
The only thing that's originally filmed is that and I've studied older films and tried to figure out how I got that impression. I was getting meetings right in the cutting room.
The unique thing about film is an art form
exactly.
is the editing.
After taking 0 shots in the restricted area against the Brooklyn Nets, Scottie Barnes took 12 of his 14 shots in the restricted area tonight. It was a clear point of emphasis of him being aggressive. I thought Miami's scheme and personnel really allowed him to do so, but it was also a point of emphasis by Scottie himself to barrel his way to the basket all game and put pressure on the officials to call fouls, but also pressure on the Heat defense. And he was great as a zone buster tonight too. The Heat run a ton of zone, and the best way to break a zone defense, especially a 3-2 zone, is to have one guy in the middle of the floor that can operate to break that zone. This area typically is the zone breaker area anyways, and a guy like Scottie Barnes who can make plays, he has multiple options. He can kick it out to Gradey Dick here, he can kick it out to Emmanuel Quickly here, he can shoot it himself, and of course there's the option of Jacoby Walter cutting to the basket as well. A lot of options for Scottie Barnes to weaponize his playmaking and also put pressure on the defense from the sore spot of this zone, and that's exactly what happens. Finds the cutting Walter, who finishes with the layup. Again, this is a really good matchup for Scottie. Simone Fontecchio is fronting Scottie in the post here, and the help defender is Jaime Jaquez. These aren't guys like a Noah Clowney who has size and athleticism, or in the Celtics case, it's not a Jordan Walsh and a Hugo Gonzalez, guys who are really physical and strong players as well. Jaquez can be that, but overall there's a size and physicality that Scottie Barnes has to him that is bigger than all of the guys on the floor, save for Bam Adebayo right now. And then he dunks this ball. And again, that was a point of emphasis all night, as you see where Scottie gets it in the post early is pretty deep, right? He's worked to get this position on Jaime Jaquez, and because of the amount of pressure he puts on the defense by being this aggressive player, it also trickles down and gets the other guys on the Raptors open shots. But here, finishes through the contact and one. And it wasn't just smaller guys. He was going one-on-one against Bam Adebayo, gets into the paint. Again, this is the level of aggression. Watch how many shots or opportunities he has. He can zip this pass to Mamu in the weak side corner, and there's just so many opportunities that can come from that. But he settles into a post shot over Bam here. Really good, aggressive look from Scottie Barnes. This play right here is something I want the Raptors to lean into more, and that is an Emmanuel Quickly, Scottie Barnes pick and roll with Scottie as the roller. And this creates a lot of options, right? Because Quick is a great pull-up shooter. Right now he's going through a bit of a cold stretch, but generally teams are going to put a lot of emphasis on not allowing him to get to a pull-up shot here. Scottie Barnes is a guy who loves to slip to the basket, especially in pick and roll. So Scottie, instead of setting a hard screen here, he is usually going to slip to the basket. So Quick can attack this seam very quickly, no pun intended, put pressure on Kel'el Ware, because Ware has to be attentive of the pull-up shot. And so now that creates an opportunity for Scottie Barnes rolling to the basket. So as you see here, Scottie slips. Ware has to make a business decision here. Is he going to stay with Scottie, or is he going to pick up Emmanuel Quickly? And he does a decent job of splitting the difference here, but Scottie slips behind him. Nice lob pass by Emmanuel Quickly. This is the third time this week that I've seen Emmanuel Quickly throw an alley-oop, and great finish there from Scottie. I want to see more of that from IQ and Scottie throughout the year. And so what does that result in? What does that hyper aggression, getting to the basket, being aggressive, and getting into the restricted area do? It forces the Heat defense to pay more attention to you as a scorer, and that creates a lot of advantages for the rest of the Raptors. So as you see here, Scottie Barnes gets Drew Smith on him. and that immediately forces a double team. They don't want Scottie to attack in the paint. Jaquez actually doubles off of Emmanuel quickly, who is a really great shooter, right? This is a good catch and shoot player. Again, I know he's been kind of on and off recently, but this is a guy that typically defenses will respect in that regard. And he finds quickly who knocks down the three. And so, folks, Scottie Barnes was awesome in this game. As we welcome you inside the film room, Scottie Barnes with 27 points on 14 shots, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 71% from the field in a 112-91, basically wire-to-wire win for the Toronto Raptors. They lost the lead there a little bit in the first quarter, but they were in full control of this game all throughout. I think the Miami Heat are a pretty good matchup for the Toronto Raptors after seeing them play 2 games against each other. The reason I say that is because I think the Heat lack some of the physicality on the wings to deal with the Raptors' wings. Raptors' wings are just bigger, especially Scottie Barnes, RJ Barrett once he gets back as well, Brandon Ingram. And so those guys create opportunities elsewhere on the floor. At the same time, the Miami Heat have been struggling lately. The Toronto Raptors aren't the only team in the Eastern Conference that is trying to figure themselves out. The Heat, I believe, before this game had lost 7 of their last 8, now 8 of their last 9. So this is also a team that is trying to find its identity. So they caught them on a night that truthfully was the right opportunity for the Raptors. And the Raptors came out hungry after losing 2 bad games, and they took full advantage of this Heat team. Again, I think this is a good matchup because of the physicality, and I think overall the message was clear from Scottie Barnes to be aggressive from out the gate. He was being the asserter on this game, really putting himself and imposing himself physically to be able to get downhill, to be able to work in the post, to work in that restricted area. That is when Scottie Barnes is at his best, when he is able to put pressure on the defense at the basket. There is no surprise to me that the Raptors won the points in the paint battle tonight, and they won the rebounding tonight. And we'll get to Collin Murray-Boyles and how important he was in this. The rookie had a great game, double-double, but Scottie was the catalyst, in my opinion, to what was an awesome game from the Raptors overall. And they need to figure out a way, the Raptors do, and Scottie does as well, for this to be something that he does no matter the matchup. And that was what I was talking about against the Nets game, where it was like it felt regardless of the matchup this season to start the year, Scottie Barnes had been imposing his will. It didn't matter if it was Giannis Antetokounmpo and Bobby Portis in there. It didn't matter if it was Denny Avdia and Toumani Camara and all those guys in there. It didn't matter if it was Kon Knipple in there. You know what I mean? Scottie was aggressive regardless of the matchup. The last couple of games, I felt like that had slipped. And how do you get that back? I think a matchup like the Miami Heat helps you regain your rhythm in terms of being aggressive constantly. It's taxing to play the way Scottie Barnes plays. I interviewed Darko Rajakovic before the season started, and one of the things that he told me was that the way that Scottie Barnes plays, we have to divide his minutes up a little bit differently than anybody else on the team. Instead of what typically happens is a player will play 2 stints each half. And each stint will be about, depending on the type of rotation player, et cetera, anything from 3 to 6 minutes, right? For Scottie Barnes, they'll play him 3 stints of 4 to 5 minutes because they know he is going to get, not that he's going to get gassed, but that the way he plays is exhausting and he needs to exert 100% of his effort to really be as impactful as he possibly can. That's just the way Scottie Barnes has to play. And so I thought he did that tonight. I thought he imposed his will. He's very, very good when he does that. And the Raptors played a good offensive game because of it. The Raptors also played a very good offensive game because of Mamu and Jameson battle. So Sandro Mamukelashvili ended up with 14 points tonight, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. That's a season high for him. He also knocked down 4 threes. Jameson Battle came in off the bench, dropped 11 points, knocked down 3 threes, and he did a couple of things defensively as well. I think the reason those guys are maximizing their opportunities, and I tweeted about this a little bit earlier, but the reason Mamu and Jamison Battle are able to maximize their opportunities every time they're on the floor is because they are guys who don't necessarily need rhythm to get going. They can kind of plug and play anywhere. And at the same time, even Darko Rajakovic has said it in post-game press conferences before, Gradey is a guy who needs rhythm. He needs multiple shots in a game to get going. Jacoby Walter, on the other hand, can impact games defensively, and through his defense, if he gets a steal, if he gets a deflection, if he gets a steal, gets out in transition and finishes, if he cuts to the basket and finishes, through those things, he can gain rhythm. But for Gradey Dick, so much of his game is predicated on getting rhythm by being a shot maker. And so you need an ample amount of opportunity to make and take shots. In the Raptors offense currently, that's not available because most of the usage and most of the touches is divvied up between Scottie Barnes, Brandon Ingram, RJ Barrett, and Emmanuel Quickley. And while RJ has been out for a month now, and so some of those usage, some of those opportunities have clearly shifted to other guys, for the most part, it's 4 guys for the Toronto Raptors that deal with the bulk of the usage and the touches. And so role players on this team have the very difficult task of maximizing the 4 to 5 to 8 shots that they get on any given night. Gradey Dick needs probably more than that to get into rhythm. And that might be bail. You could say I'm shooting bail for a guy like Gradey Dick, but that's just the reality of the situation from what I've seen watching him. He's a guy who needs more shots to get into rhythm, whereas Sandro Mamu-Kelishvili, he can be a guy who can dive to the basket. He can be a guy who can make plays in the open floor. He obviously can knock down his threes, and so that allows him to gain rhythm naturally. Jamison Battle, in a very similar way, does not require touches offensively. He just maximizes opportunities with corner threes, with moving without the ball and working off of Scottie Barnes in post-up situations. That's how those guys thrive. And tonight, they did that. So operating in moments where the Raptors desperately need a shot, Emmanuel Quickley has the ball, shot clock winding down, 6 seconds left. The Raptors offense hasn't been able to generate much. All Quickley does is drive to the basket. Davion Mitchell digs, and Sandro Mamu-Kelishvili able to make a contested 3 here. Very similar here. This time Quickley drives, strong side help digs in, and it's Jamison Battle who knocks down the corner 3. The Raptors are really good at generating above the break threes, and Mamu and Jamison Battle can knock them down with the best of them. This is also good spacing from the Raptors in terms of their offensive possession. So Shed does a nice wrap around or overhead pass here to Mamu, and Mamu, beautiful dime to Jamison Battle, recognize the cut. Let's just go back and look at that. So as soon as Mamu catches the ball, it's a great timed cut by Jamison Battle to see the opening, and Mamu, really willing and unselfish player, finds Battle here for the cut, and Battle gets the layup. So again, very similar situation. Raptors not able to get anything going with the pick and roll. Ochak cuts, doesn't find much, just finds Mamu on the weak side. Again, a contested 3, and he knocks it down. One of the other things that these guys do well in Mamu and in Jamison is knocking down contested 3s. And I mentioned some of the playmaking stuff from Quick, especially when guys slip to the basket. It forces defenses to make decisions about Emmanuel Quickley's pull-up shooting. So here, Mamu slips to the basket. Really nice pass by Emmanuel Quickley there. Those are the type of quick reads that Quick, no pun intended, needs to make more quickly. And then Mamu here, nice dump off pass to Scottie, who ends with the dunk. So the Heat kept conceding switches pretty easily. Scottie Barnes sets a screen on Emmanuel Quickley, and he gets the switch already. Keep an eye on that for a little bit later down the possession, right? So if we go a little bit later down the possession, Scottie Barnes has the post up right here. And as we've seen before, that causes a lot of problems for the Miami Heat. 1, he can either attack the basket, or 2, the double is coming, and he can create open shots for an Emmanuel Quickley, or for a Jamison Battle, or maybe for a Jacoby Walter here on the weak side. And so, as you see, Scottie catches it in the post. immediately flashes that pass to Jamison Battle. Once again, a contested three knocks it down. And so two things to highlight from that little break right there. One, knocking down your contested threes. Battle does it at a good rate. Mamu does it at a good rate. And because the Raptors don't have these crazy advantage creators, they don't have Trae Young who can generate a wide open three for someone, or Luka Doncic who can generate a wide open three for someone. They have Scottie Barnes working in the mid-post area, and that might get you a decent look, but it's not going to get you a wide open look. They have Brandon Ingram working in that area of the floor. And sometimes like post position really emphasizes spacing. Like your spacing needs to be perfect in order for a post player to be able to create a pretty good shot. The Nuggets do a great job of that with Nikola Jokic, but Nikola Jokic's gravity is very different than Scottie Barnes's or Brandon Ingram's, obviously. So that's why Battle and Mamu are so important to the shot making aspect. And at this point, guys, Jamison Battle absolutely has to play more. And if the Raptors want to win more games, and if the Raptors want to be more productive, they probably have to play Jamison Battle. I have not had much bad things or too many bad things to say about Jamison Battle this year. I think he's been good defensively. I think when he's come in, he's been able to knock down his shots. He's done a little bit of like doing stuff with the ball in his hands too. He's a timely cutter, understands the game in a very good way. And so you're not losing much if you play Jamison Battle. I believe Battle should be playing more often. I also imagine that when the Raptors trade Ochai Agbaji, which is basically a foregone conclusion at this point, when the Raptors trade Ochai Agbaji, there will be more opportunity for Jamison Battle to play. He will be that third guy, at the very least, in their shooting guard trio rotation. Right now it's a little bit cluttered there because of Ochai and because they're trying to display him. Kind of show him off for trade situations. He started again tonight, which I think is clearly an element there for the Raptors. That being said, I think Ochai has played better. I will say, despite everything about, Ochai shooting like 20% from three, he made a three tonight as well. I think Ochai has started to play better. I think he works well with that starting unit because he's also a guy that doesn't require touches. He's not a guy that necessarily needs the ball to get rhythm. And so he works for this team offensively as well. Also an above average defender at the very least. So Ochai works well with the starters. So there's kind of a twofold problem there. All right, let's talk about Collin Murray-Boyles, who had a really, really great game. This is his second good game against the Miami Heat. And much like Scottie Barnes, Collin Murray-Boyles feasts on these smaller teams. I don't think Bam Adebayo had a really great game. A lot of that was because he was being guarded by CMB. The ball pressure, the denial stuff, especially because Bam is not like a tall center who can rise up over top. CMB can contest those shots pretty well. And overall, you look at Collin and what he does on the offensive glass, again, especially against a smaller team like the Miami Heat, he was able to absolutely dominate tonight. 12 rebounds, 9 of them offensive. He did a lot of good stuff on the offensive end. Let's talk about CMB. So working within the crevices of the offense, Collin Murray-Boyles isn't going to have a lot of plays designed for him, but he can still take advantage here as the screener with Brandon Ingram, being able to use the gravity of BI as Jaime Jaquez steps up on this pick and roll. Good job slipping to the basket. And a really nice touch pass here in the short roll to Ochai. That is just awesome playmaking from Collin Murray-Boyles. I want to see more of that. Again, garbage man type situations offensively, feasting off of the advantages other guys create. And so Brandon Ingram in the high post area gets to his spot. The double immediately comes, and beautiful dump off pass there from CMB, who finishes. Jamal Shead is so fast, man. He is so quick. And so in these situations, he can reject this screen, get downhill, engage the help, which is Davion Mitchell. And a good job by Collin Murray-Boyles to recognize as he kind of slips here to create an easier opportunity for the alley-oop. Shed to CMB for the finish. This time, CMB gets the early seal on Davion Mitchell. Good hit-ahead pass by Jamal Shed, and CMB just finishes over top of Mitchell. And this is the big thing with CMB, man, knocking down these threes. He is now a 45% three-point shooter this season. If he continues to do that, Great news for the Raptors. Now, this is what I want to see more of from Collin Murray-Boyles. Of course, he's knocking down the three-point shot at a good rate so far. He's working in the crevices of the offense to be a play finisher, but I also want him attacking closeouts and making decisions. I think CMB is a very underrated passer. He was a great passer in college, and so because of his size and his physicality, he can make reads that other guys on the floor just can't. So CMB here engages the help defense and Bam Adebayo, and watch this wraparound pass to the opposite side. That's just passes that like other guys cannot do. CMB has the ability to do that very well. I want to see him lean into that more. I want to see the Raptors lean into that more often as well. And of course, the offensive rebounding. I wasn't going to break down offensive rebounding clips, but I thought this one was wildly impressive. Just rises up over top of Jaime Jaquez, cleans this rebound up, and the Raptors get an extra possession. And he had 9 of those tonight. 9 of those types of possessions for Collin Murray-Boyles, who was sensational. And, I just got sent this in a group chat, but he won the chain dog, dog, whatever you want to call it, the dog of the game. I have no idea what they call it, to be honest with you. Chain of the game? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. I don't know exactly what they call the chain, other than it being the chain. You know what I mean? Do they call it the... I can't remember what they called it. I'm like blanking at this point. Whatever. I'm in holiday mode, folks. This was a good win for the Toronto Raptors. It really was. And they absolutely needed that. After 2 ugly games versus the Boston Celtics and Miami Heat, they absolutely needed it. Folks, I hope you guys have a great holiday season as we head into Christmas break, but also, obviously, there's tons of other holidays at this time of the year. Hope you guys enjoy. Maybe get some time off if you guys had a chance to. I know I won't have any time off because basketball, Christmas Day. Hope you guys enjoy some of the Christmas Day basketball games. Those are always awesome. Very excited to see some of those games. It's a good chance to check out the rest of the league as well. Overall, for the Raptors side of things, if I could do like a holiday wish list, it would go in this order. 1, Jakob Poeltl being healthy. Completely changes the dynamic for this Raptors team. 2, RJ Barrett returning this week. I would like to see him either versus Washington or versus Golden State. And number 3, my third wish list item is to absolutely find a backup big man of sorts. I know people will bring up the Anthony Davises of the world, the Ivica Zubats of the world, the Jared Allens, the Domantas Sabonis. I wrote about it on Raptors Republic, why that might be a little bit more difficult to obtain. Of course it's difficult to obtain those guys, and why it's more costly to go out and get those guys. Is it worth it to go and trade for Anthony Davis or Zubats or Sabonis or Jared Allen or whoever in that echelon of big man? And can the Raptors really pull that off? I'm not necessarily sure. I think the most likely scenario is that they try and trade for a backup big man, maybe a big man that can also be starting caliber. We'll see what that entails, but I absolutely think that one of the holiday wish list items would be for the Raptors to trade for another big man of sorts and maybe get involved in some other trades too. Who knows? Trade season is just as fun as holiday season. Folks, good win for the Toronto Raptors. As always, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate you guys tuning in for Raptors Republic. I appreciate you guys overall tuning in for this show. I believe we've developed a bit of a community here, and I really appreciate that. Let me know in the comments if you guys keep rocking with us. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys on Friday for the Washington Wizards, I believe. Yeah, Boxing Day. See you guys. Peace.